Hello, I am Jessica Weaver and I have Carolina Denhart on with me. And we are talking about cash flow because tomorrow night is our second round of our Empire Dynasty, kind of a masterclass, a mastermind of you work with people going through divorce or crisis times. I help people on the money side of that aspect. And we really want to get a feel for as things start to open up, are we going to start spending again? How much of the saving habit that we've created over the last few months, hopefully people have been saving, is that going to carry through as things open up? What do you think, Carolina?
Well, you know what? As I was driving in town today, and I'm picking up my Starbucks because the drive-through opened back up, and I couldn't be happier. It's amazing how the smallest things today make you happy. I quickly thought about what we talked about last week, and that are we going to go right back into swiping, spending way too much money on coffee, buying purchases we may not need? We all should have learned a lesson over the last 9 weeks that those shoes, those bags, those coats, those dresses, if you have nowhere to go and you're really just stuck with, not stuck, but if your life becomes really the true essential things, are you going to now go back and go to the non-essential? And will that continue for you to incur debt, which will prevent you from reaching your retirement goals or buying that home or buying the second home or putting money away for a rainy day? And I fear that people simply will just go back out and get into old habits because we feel so confined right now. And people are going to want to feel good, and purchases make them feel good.
I could see it happening one of two ways. People got used to saving, they like to see the money in their bank account, and they're going to continue that way. Or they're going to rebel because they haven't been out spending, so they're going to be spending like crazy. It's going to be even worse than it was before.
Yeah.
And I think
I think that people need to think about a balance somewhere between those two extremes. And what we're going to talk about tomorrow is, number one, do you even know what your credit cash flow was? And I say that very intentionally. I call it the C word. It's credit card debt. It's not good. And you and I were speaking about this earlier as well, that, sometimes when you first make your big purchase, you do it and you see the first bill and it's like, oh my God, was this a good idea? $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Of course, Bloomingdale's allowed me to open up a card. I just bought my Burberry coat and it seemed like a great idea at the time. Do you really need it? And why do we become so desensitized to it as the subsequent months follow? And that desensitization is extremely dangerous because it's not green dollars being spent. It's a piece of paper. And a lot of women, and I'm going to be sexist again, take that credit card statement and throw it in the drawer. I'll deal with it later. I'll do a credit card transfer. And quite frankly, they never get paid down. And I see this all too often in divorces. People are carrying credit card debt for 10, 12 years, which then has to be divided up at the time of divorce. It's not a healthy way to live.
No, and I've been working with women who have debt, the credit card debt, and just paying it off isn't the only solution. You need to figure out what are the habits that are keeping you in this debt pattern, because we'll pay it off, they're back in debt. They pay it off, they're back in debt. So it's not just getting rid of the debt. It's these constant habits, these patterns, these things that are constantly sabotaging themselves. And Caroline, I have to tell you, so I do have some women and I have them wrap their credit card in a piece of paper. And on the piece of paper, they write down 4 questions. Do I need this item? Did I need it yesterday? Will this get me closer or farther from my goals? What else can I be doing with this money? Because it just puts that pause in between the impulsive purchase. Absolutely. And I think we all need that breathing room.
Yeah. And the other thing that I say to my clients and people that I'm educating before they even retain me through the Divorce Dynasty platform is that credit card spending is not part of your cash flow. Credit card lines of credit are not income. You're creating immediate debt. Now, some people, spend, they want to get their points on their Amex card at the end of the month. They pay it off. It becomes part of their budget. If you have a budget and it's healthy, I'm all for it. But you can't say, I have $50,000 of a credit line, so for this summer, I have cushion money to take that vacation that I wanted. Unless you have a plan to pay it back and it's a realistic, identifiable plan, don't do it. It doesn't supplement your income. It diminishes your future earnings.
how bad is it when you have a couple and they have credit card debt going through divorce? How much
Well,
worse of how big of an issue is it?
It's marital debt is marital debt. So from the day you say I do to the day we file for divorce or determine a cutoff date that the marriage is irretrievably broken, typically it's filing for divorce by one side or the other. That debt, whether it's in your husband's name, your name, it doesn't matter. It belongs to the marriage. So it's very chilling if one spouse spent over the other, and now you have to take down money off, let's say, the sale proceeds of the home to pay down 100 grand in credit card debt. Certainly there are situations where somebody is spending, let's say, on a paramour, they're having an extramarital affair, and we try to seek some credits. But at the end of the day, many couples in our areas, I'm going to call it the Short Hills area, are living above their means. And, it's not so much living paycheck to paycheck, but distribution to distribution. And now with the pandemic, if you're not getting a distribution because businesses are either closed or furloughed or there's no profits, you're going to be carrying that debt. So it becomes a tremendous point of contention. And a lot of women at that time say, my God, how did I allow this to happen? You enjoyed the lifestyle. You weren't asking how the bills were getting paid. It's a very hard moment for a lot of women to realize.
Yeah, even the wealthy make that mistake, the successful people that make that mistake. And I think, I titled this, the mistakes that the wealthy make. And my grandmother, she had 2 divorces. Both divorces were a mess. The second marriage, she was married to a lawyer in DC. I write about this in my first book. And he was a very sneaky lawyer. He put all of her houses, she had multiple houses, all of her houses in his name. Uh-huh. He borrowed against those houses, took money, equity out of the houses, and she didn't find out until the divorce when she actually saw what was going on with the money.
Yeah.
So,
and
unfortunately, place to be.
You're exactly right that a lot of times, and it's a little too late at that point, this comes out when you have lawyers involved, when you have to divide your assets and your liabilities. And certainly it impacts the bottom line, right? So for women that are getting divorced later in life and they were counting on the proceeds from the sale of home or homes or whatever it may be, or the proceeds in the Charles Schwab account, if there's substantial debt to pay down, what you're walking away with is decreased. And that has a tremendous impact on their future lives. So, it's important, no matter how scary it is. And I always go back to a Sex and the City episode where Carrie Bradshaw, would buy the Manolo Blahniks and she would like swipe and then put the bill in the drawer, right? And there was an episode that spoke to so many women because they realized that that's what they do. It's too scary to look at because you don't know how to resolve it. We're here teaming up through the Empire Dynasty to tell women that, yes, it's scary, but there is a solution. Even if it takes you 3 years to pay down your debt, in 3 years, you will be debt free. And there's different tips that you offer. You could still save while you're paying down your debt, but it's going to require A, education, and B, discipline. And I think that's what I really want our show tomorrow to really convey to our audience.
Yeah, the discipline, the focus, and people like us to reroute them when they may get off track. And I do want to share a celebration with the Carolinas. So I have a woman, she just joined our Money Empire program, and same thing, credit card debt, not a good cash flow situation, very tight, negative most month. And we actually, by reworking her debt, reworking her expenses, found her an extra $2,000 a month.
Oh,
now that is a huge swing for most women. And you think, well, what would you do with an extra $2,000? And that's where the discipline comes in place. Are you then just going to spend it, or are you going to start working towards your goals, saving, paying off more debt, chunking towards your goals too? So I love how you said the discipline is, and accountability is very, very, very important.
And one of the things that I think is wonderful to share with our clients is that if you give your money to an investment planner, if somebody goes to you, goes to somebody else, and you literally have a automatic withdrawal coming out of your account every month, okay? It's gone. You can't take it back, because if you don't do that, then you will be tempted. You will feel like you're missing out. I have clients calling saying, oh, my girlfriends are calling saying Connecticut's open now. I'm going to go to Connecticut. No, you're not. You don't need to go to Connecticut. You don't need to start spending $15 per glass of white wine. You don't need to start doing the brunches. Let's get a very conscientious plan. I'm not saying sit at home and, cook all your meals and don't socialize. But since we haven't been out in almost 10 weeks, No one died, right? No, from being home, that is. I don't mean
Yeah.
to be flippant about it because we obviously had a very tremendous pandemic on our hands, but you survived and you were able to save a few dollars. Please think about what you're going to do now that you have an opportunity to go out again. And the other thing I'm telling my clients is shop in your own closets. For God's sake, how much money at the Short Hills
I
Mall?
need to do that too.
Let's go in and for the next 3 years, I'm sure that we could all be fully dressed and be okay. And it's going to feel good that you are actually being conscientious. And every time you want to buy a bag, put that money in a bank account or into an IRA or into your 401k. So, Jessica, I think that this is the topic to be talking about right now as people are itching to get out and spend.
I have one more question for you, Carolina. I see on my side, women come to me and they go, I don't know if I can afford a divorce. I have no idea how much money I need to live on. And it's really because they have no idea the cost of their life. How much scary is it for women going through divorce when they have no idea what their total expenses are, or how much they need, how much money they actually need each month to live?
It's one of the most difficult conversations that I have with my clients, and yet it's one of the most important. So we have something called the case information statement, which is really the blueprint for your finances, your income, your spending, your liabilities. And often they have to get somebody else involved to help them because you're taking your spending from your cash spending, from your credit card debt, from the checks you write, and you have to recreate your budget. It's very eye-opening. We often bring people in to help them do this because it has to be precise. The lifestyle is very important when it comes to alimony determinations. But quite frankly, nobody's entitled to the lifestyle over the other person. And think about it logically. When you have one income earner that now has to support two households, of course you're not going to be living the same lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So not only are you going through an education of how much you're actually spending and realizing that maybe you are living on debt, which no court's going to order for future spending, right?
Yeah.
But then you also have to realize that it may change, and how will that look? So education is key. Divorce is scary, but it doesn't have to be if you align yourself with the right people. But you have to have the right mindset. And I tell my clients all the time, alimony is not a reward for putting up with bad husband or cheating husband. Alimony is based on your future needs, and it's a lot of difficult conversations. We're talking about finance, but think about the psychological aspect of what goes on too, and the psychological relationship women have with money, which is usually fear. So there's a lot of work for us to do, Jessica.
There is. And it's a very similar thing when we approach retirement too, right? We need to know how much you're living. We need to be realistic about it. Like you said, you need to be very accurate with the numbers because it's the same thing. We're working on a limited amount of money, just like splitting one household into two. Same thing in retirement. We have a limited amount of money. Now we got to let that last as long as we can. So we have a lot of overlapping themes here, and it always comes back to cash flow, doesn't it?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, if you don't have it in your wallet, you shouldn't be spending it. There's a time and place for a credit card debt or to make purchases on that credit card, but it has to be part of your well thought out plan. I say to my clients often, take $1,000 out for your spending money or whatever your budget is, put it in your wallet, and when you're down to your last dollar, you're done. If you choose to spend it the first week of the month, you're done. There has to be thoughtfulness put into what we spend. We live in a society where everything's disposable, everything's accessible to us. And I hope that the pandemic taught us that if that should stop, you could still live a well-lived life. Mm-hmm. Okay? Stores were closed, restaurants were closed. We were still finding ways to be fulfilled. Let's learn those lessons, help us become better savers and have a better financial future.
Yeah, so if anybody has been stressed over their emergency fund and how they're going to make it these last few months, this is the call you need to be on because that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. And I don't know how many people have told me, I'm realizing now I need to be more conscious of my spending and saving money and make saving money a bigger priority, a bigger habit than the spending money, which is so much easier. It takes the discipline, the focus, and the plan for the saving piece. So we'll post the link so everybody can sign up for it tomorrow night. It is part of our really masterclass series. You also get my book. You get some wine. We have happy hour on us, and we'll see everybody tomorrow night.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Have a great
day, Carolina.
Goodbye.